Yo, 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 welcome to the Elevated Healthy Cast, man, where we're going to talk. We bring you contents for your conscience that make much sense. And today we're doing a reaction video with some research to Anton Daniels and what's been going on with Tennessee State University. And I want to also highlight what they keep saying about the funding. Do some research. So here we go.
White boys that pulled up to the HBCU to looking for a debate, DEI, conservatism, etc., etc. I'm not here to question your motives, but optically, it wasn't a good look. Right message, wrong messenger.
Shout out for everybody for checking this live out. Really appreciate that. Let's go.
Now, I appreciate that you guys tried and also brought this conversation to the front of the class because it's long overdue that Black people in the Black community, HBCUs, have a conversation about free speech and conservatism.
Free speech and conservatism. There were black codes put in place by the Supreme Courts that disbanded that for Native Black Americans. So the progression of free speech and being able to be logical in your thought process in a time where others were able to freely develop for centuries. I'll drop it right there. Let's keep it going.
Black people are conservative, but the HBCUs have turned into a liberal indoctrination camp. It has been infested. Black people are conservative. They send their kids to these liberal arts HBCUs.
What about all the other institutions that are what you call liberal that these children are being institutionalized by or conservative wise? You know, left and right, they both fly together. They ambidextrous. Let's keep it going.
Then next thing you know, these girls cut their hair off. They got these septum rings, and they talking about white supremacy, this white supremacy, that.
Hold on now. That ain't subjugated to just Native Black Americans. I see all races wearing them septum rings. Let's keep it going. You see how easy to break down these talking points.
All that money donated to the HBCUs, Trump allocating all that money. And what do you get from that? You get septum ring piercings, you get crippling student loan debt. Like HBCUs, they need conservatives, point blank. Conservatives need a space in HBCUs if they're going to change course. They might need a new conservative
HBCUs are not the only institutions receiving government funding. You'll find that out shortly.
president, new conservative dean. They're going to need like at least have a conservative conversation because they're like the amount of money being invested into HBCUs and these kids are coming out of the school with this type of degree with liberal arts degrees and can't nothing in AI engineering, nothing like that. They're just going there
uh,
to be told that white supremacy is holding them back and white
it's ironic that most of the people that talk about HBCUs hardly step foot inside or experience what it's like. Because if they have, they'll see that the professors are of different nationalities. And so the environment and the education is still in accordance with whatever the overall institution that condones it is going to allow.
student loan is the way that it is. Come on now. Come on. So
Yeah, I agree 100% with what he says because all of this stuff is stuff that I say on a regular basis. The only thing I don't agree with is he said right message, wrong messenger, because I think that there's always a right messenger. And you can't pick and choose who can tell the truth and who can't tell the truth. More importantly, I think that their reaction to what happened on campus is more of a reflection of who they were and not necessarily a reflection of who it is that was bringing them.
So when you go to places like this, let's take your logic for a second. These liberal institutions, right? You go there with handmade signs talking about DEI and the other sign. What's been going on is that a lot of people been attaching DEI to HBCUs. So when you come up with there with that sign and the hat that you wear, nothing wrong with that. Everybody knows that certain people that have a disdainment for Native Black Americans also wear that hat too. They allowed you to set up the table, allowed you to speak, do your thing. Let's continue.
Message. Anybody should be able to have a conversation and have debate. And if you don't like it, then you should just walk away or you can observe quietly. But to run somebody off the campus was completely disrespectful to yourself, your parents, and your culture.
Uh, Nobody was ran out the campus, sir. They packed up their stuff and left. They also had security and police at their side. They realized that this ploy that they were doing was only to generate more and more content so they can get more money at the end of the day because that was the only institution they went to. Or why not go to Fisk University? Vanderbilt. They're in Nashville. Fisk is known for debating. Probably would have had also an opportunity there to debate. What about Vanderbilt? Oh, just Tennessee State University. Okay. And then it's been in the news that HBCUs been getting death threats. So people are on edge. And for you to go there in a way like that was unwise. And it also looks like you were antagonizing people. If you really want to generate a thoughtful conversation, your mind frame should have been a all these people are the same. Should have been more like, hey, this was what Trump has done for the HBCUs this year. He provided this amount of funding, da 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 da. That would sound more of a invitation more so than DEI is illegal, whatever, put on there. That's good. Let's continue.
But then again, I don't think that anybody cares about that.
we need the Bible back in HBCUs. We need conservatives back in HBCUs. And until that changes, all that money that Trump invested will be just flushed down the toilet because nothing's going to change.
So HBCU, right? Who just got a bunch of federal funding from Trump himself, right?
HBCUs are not the only institutions that get federal funding from the government. In fact, they get pennies compared to what other institutions receive that are predominantly of other nationalities. I'll show you in a moment.
Just got a bunch of funding. Kick out two guys who just wanted to sit down and have a conversation, just like Charlie Kirk used to do on college campuses. But instead of accepting it, they decided it was best if they booted them out, act all crazy, have these signs called Black Lives Matter, and literally just boot them out of the place.
So the young man that's that was lynched in Delta, Mississippi, Native Black American. That was a representation of many lives that have been unjustly deprived. They also came up there with signs too. No mention of those, huh?
Place. I'm gonna say something, and you're probably not gonna like it, but I don't really give a damn because I tell it 100, straight 100, no bullshit. I have dealt with racism, but not from whites.
Okay.
Not from Hispanics, from blacks.
How so? What institutions have Native Black Americans instilled in a nation to deprive you of your natural rights? And also to overrule and then capture you and to chattel you off. Now, you may have received some prejudice because anyone can be prejudiced. But continue.
Therapists, are you losing $8,000 and 65 hours every year to bookkeeping?
I have been called every name in the book by blacks. You're not going to sit here and tell me that black people are not the most racist people on the planet.
Let me ask y'all a question because this just popped in my head. Is it racism if a black person calls another person that is black something because they don't necessarily agree with their ideology when it comes to race? So, for example, if they call you a cone, they call you whatever, so on and so forth.
Who else is going around calling other people by a term that's meant to make you feel inhumane? Like everybody okay with saying the N word, but if you say, you a WB, you a K word, oh, it's how dare you say that? But when somebody say, man, I don't like you saying that N word because I don't come at you like that. Oh, black people say it to other black people. Okay, if that's the case, then them words that can cause fights and all that amongst your nationality and race, why don't y'all call each other that on the norm instead of the N word? Or I think it's okay to assume, okay, with that hive mind thinking that every Native Black American says that word to one another or to other people. If I'm talking business to you, and you don't hear that word come out of my mouth, what makes you think it's okay for you to call me that? If I ain't never approached you like that, you should actually think like that first. If somebody is calling you that, you call them that back, then it shouldn't be no issue because they calling you that. You know what I'm saying? But you should also take it to the aspect that if you're in an environment where you don't want to be called something that you know that they gonna say, try to avoid that environment. Well, let them know, man, you a noble person, man. You don't get down with them terms. But don't think every Native Black American is okay with that because that word is a derision of the word negus, Negus, which is a sovereign ruler, king of Ethiopia. Let's go.
Which I've been on the receiving end of a lot of that. Is that racism because they talking to another black person, or does it have to be directed at a white person, or is it based off of your mindset and ideologies and whatever it is that you know what I'm saying, stand on from a cultural perspective? Give me some insight inside of the chat.
Point blank, period. And if you want to prove me wrong, prove me wrong. Trust me. Prove me wrong. I don't give a shit. I dealt with it. Even when I voted for Trump, I dealt with it, but twice as worse. I was called a coon. I was called an Uncle Tom. I was called every single name in the book.
Some people may have felt that way. You know what I'm saying? About whatever was been going on. I do recall Donald Trump back in 2020 saying that he would have stopped and frisk only black people because he felt we were a higher risk. Only black people. I do recall that. So again,
By what?
you have to realize certain people recall certain things that they still remember. So it's going to stick with them a certain way. And if it's a group of people that feel that way, does it represent what Anton would say, the culture? Because everyone else gets to have individualism. When the Buffalo shooter slaughtered all them innocent people just in the grocery store minding their business, nobody said all white people or the white culture. I'm just keeping it real. It was a lone wolf. Let's continue.
Black people. When I got married to my husband and they saw a picture of my husband, they assumed that, he was white, even though he's Puerto Rican, even though I've said that a million fucking times that he's
Uh, Latinos are considered white in the United States, but continue.
Puerto Rican.
Even Nigerians are considered white in the United States.
FYI, Puerto Ricans have the white, black, and Indian blood. His family has Indian blood in their family. Some of the women in his family have the same long hair, long, beautiful soft hair as Indians. But no matter how many times I would say that,
The Taino tribe.
they still come after me. Black people have a tendency to embarrass themselves over and over and over again.
Wait, so Charlie Kirk, President Trump, mass school shootings. Nobody looks at that as an embarrassment. Okay.
Again. And at this point, there is no point in trying to get through to them. Everything in their mind is racist. This is how you
Every Native Black American race. Wow. Millions. Everyone. Listen. You be known by your intentions, man. Let's keep it going.
know. The mainstream media has brainwashed them to the point of no return. Some of them who are smart enough
Look, you nodding his head.
may be saved, but I don't see that. I don't see that happening. This
Save to what? What other destination are you referring to when you say save from what? Please do entail.
this is why whenever time there is something involving Black people, they always find a way to embarrass themselves. Stop fucking embarrassing us. Stop it. Because
Wait, you objectify and then are part two? Nah.
Nah, you know what? And again, I don't think it's necessarily Black people. I think it's the culture. And every single person is not the same way that all white people aren't the same, and so on and so forth. I don't think that they're embarrassing us. I think that they're embarrassing them. And anybody that supports it, anybody that advocates for it, and anybody that thinks it's cool.
It's a lot of successful Black people in this nation. There's a lot of successful, just regular pay their bills, take care of their kids, Native Black Americans too. That culture is relevant. That culture is seldom highlighted because of the agenda. We know what's up.
I seen Kamala Harris walk through Howard today in order to go and sell her book, and everybody was cool. But if a person that doesn't look like you,
Hold on. An alumni of a school, alumni goes back to a school that they graduated from and lets them know they got a book and everybody was cool. You gonna use that as a talking point, man? You gotta do better.
if they don't stand for what you stand for, if they're not aligned with what you align with, if they decide that they want to walk through campus or they want to have a conversation or a respectful debate, then all hell is going to break loose. And again, I said this on After Hours, it was more of an embarrassment of them than it was, and when I say them, the actual students.
Man, I seen students waving at the camera when they was walking. When they did have the table set up, there were people questioning. It wasn't even a super crowd. You can see grass between people. They're talking points, man. One register. It's not what how you came, even though you came up there with signs that said, look at me, come to my table. You were looking for action. And you wanted to debate, right? Why not put a sign that said, this is a debate about free speech? Because if that was the case, then everybody out there was free speeching. So you proved your point about free speech. That's what everybody was doing. Free speech. What's the issue?
Students, black students at HBCUs. And it's so funny because I was just reading about and observing other people make comments about the fact that HBCUs received a ton of funding from the Trump
How much? Did you gather how much was sent? Did you?
administration, which obviously this is not the first time. And he's been very supportive of HBCUs in ways that Democrats, especially Obama, was never in support of HBCUs. But objectively, he's the president of the entire United States of America, including HBCUs. The whole concept of HBCUs in 2025, as of the recording of this video, is very dumb. It's very stupid in the first.
Man, that's a slap in the face of Mary Bethune McLeod, bro. That's a slap in the face to Fisk. I think Dr. Fisk. You don't know what you're talking about, bro. You don't even know what goes on at these universities because you don't attend them. You don't go live from a university that's historically back. You don't go dig into the history of why these institutions exist. So fugazi is the talk that you have, sir.
Place because it's basically racist in itself because there's no other community of people that can actually have their own colleges that is primarily designed to uphold their culture and speak to whatever it is that they come from. But even when you try to have respectful.
University of Virginia, ring a bell, Charlottesville, Unite the Right, as they called it. What happened there?
Debate at an organization or at a university that was founded by white people, you start to see all of these signs and hateful messages about Black Lives Matters. I absolutely agree with both of them. Make sure you guys hit a like on the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. T. Tanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I always like to leave a
Black Lives Matter was a slogan, and some people took it and put an organization behind it. When you mention that, people that really believe in that have a deeper meaning, and it's mostly about preservation, ethno aggregation, community, family value. Ain't about hate of other people, because you may not know this in time, but Black people built the United States involuntarily, and economically, ingenuity as well, culture too. All right, so we done with that. Let's take it over to what I want to show y'all. Um, oh yeah. Federal policy change hits UVA's medical research funding. The University of Virginia research funding has been reduced following nationwide cuts to indirect costs. Support by National Institutes of Health, a major source of federal funds for biomedical research. The cuts, led by the Trump administration, will impact everything from research and equipment to some staff positions. In addition to awarding grants to fund scientific research, the NIH gives institutions that host the research projects a percentage to help cover infrastructure maintenance and expenses. The rates for indirect costs vary by institution and are negotiated with the NIH. All right, why did I bring this up? To show you this. In 2023 fiscal year, UVA received $198.5 million in NIH funding for both direct and indirect costs, according to BRIMR. Of that total funding for UVA, 174.2 million was awarded to the medical school. So all this talk about HBCUs receiving funding, and here you have the University of Virginia also getting funds too. So, and why did I bring that up? To show you something like this. Time magazine. Unrest in Virginia clashes over a show of white nationalism in Charlottesville. Y'all remember this? It's happened on campus. Look at that. Downtown. Wasn't this the same hat on Tennessee State University? So, and it was about freedom of speech. What does it look like everybody's doing out here? Hmm. Freedom of speech. So this is okay, right? Weren't they acting this? Okay, let's compare. What's the difference if I want to say what they were doing at the students? Let's compare. Okay. All right then. Okay. Yeah. Y'all remember this? White nationalism encircled counter protesters at the base of statue of Thomas Jefferson after marching through the University of Virginia campus with torches on August 11th. Yeah. Okay then. So what's that culture talk you talking about, Anton? Freedom of speech. All right. All right. So let's move over to massacres. So people always think we talk about white people this, white people that, white supremacy. Let me show you something. Y'all remember that, right? Y'all remember that, right? Huh? After posting a racist manifesto online, right? Before targeting a majority black neighborhood, white supremacists killed 10 people at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. So they always talking about we always white supremacy this. Look, he wrote a manifesto. Who's thinking about it? Huh? Philadelphia police bomb? Whoa. Dropping bombs on your own soil? Wow. Greensboro massacre? Come on now. Look, freedom of speech. So this is what happens when black people come together, organize, and civilize for their natural rights. Y'all remember? Chicago Police Department shot and killed 10 unarmed demonstrators in Chicago on Memorial Day, 1937. Isn't that when the Irish were uh, immigrating into aristocracy in America and took on all these positions just to do this? No, like y'all say, but you see how you get able to say not all are individualized, but black people is everyone. Nah. Rosewood Massacre, anyone? Tulsa Massacre? Huh? Black people trying to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and establish themselves in this nation so they can become independent of this country. Because that's the whole thing. Pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. They were doing just that. Elaine Massacre. You talking about farms? Farmers? Where are all the farmers? This is what happened. That's where are the farmers, the shortages? Look at the September 30th, 1919 Elaine Massacre. We're about to come up on the anniversary of this. Right here. September 30th. We're literally about to come up on the anniversary of this. This is why your farmers went. It was 2 million of them from 1919 to year 2000. Black farmers, by the way. But I just want you to highlight how we're pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps. Okay. Yeah. So if you continue to do this decade, decade after decade, 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 over and over everywhere, what do you think that becomes? A culture. You see, it becomes a culture. So if Black people got this certain culture about us, then based off what we're looking at here, what does this indicate about the others' culture? Okay. Oh, look. That's interesting. A lynch mob of 500 Anglo and Latino Los Angelinos rioted and murdered at least 17 Chinese residents after a white civilian died in a shootout. Wow. September 28th, Opelousas Massacre. This is the anniversary, y'all, 1868. In response to the promotion of voter registration, a KKK-like group massacred hundreds of people, most of whom were African Americans, so they could even massacre white people. You know, anybody, I'm telling you, so talk about that culture, man. You better start looking. Look, I'm only on the second page. Memphis in May. Anyone? Anybody know about Memphis in May? Yeah. Sand Creek Massacre. Look at this. Union soldiers massacred at Fort Pillow. Confederate troops massacred over 500 surrendering Union soldiers, majority African American, at the Civil War Battle of Fort Pillow. Wow. New York City. Ellis Island. Where all the Europeans were able to just come on in. And y'all remember back in this time, there were white minorities too. So there was like Irish, Italian, Polish. They were all like in their own group, and really none of them liked each other. But they started coming together and came up under that white umbrella together, right? That's ethnic aggregation, right? So black people, same way, trying to come up under ethnic aggregation. And you see this. This country has been telling Native Black Americans to pull themselves up out of bootstraps ever since, man, they involuntarily got us out of that forced slavery, man. So I'm just showing y'all the history of what they call culture. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the funding part because they always think HBCUs is getting all this funding, like they're the only institutions receiving public funding, and this is all based off, the Tennessee state, and how two individuals who were looking for attention, looking to antagonize, looking to get some money, went up there with talking points that wouldn't register at a DMV. So what I'm doing is highlighting some of the history of culture in this nation. All right. Now, let me go find the research about the funding of colleges that receive funds. Hold on. If y'all like this content that I'm bringing, man, appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't got to like the button or nothing like that. Just I'm doing this so everybody can be aware some of the stuff that went on in this nation. It don't get talked about because when you do bring it up, they always want to say you virtue signaling, but they can say all these things about black people and we the highest murder raters and uh what they call us 1350, but then you start realizing you seeing what they do, nobody want to talk about it because it's all individualism. But if black people do something, everybody is accountable, right? So they blame it on culture. I'm giving you a deep dive into culture, American culture, actually. So what you're looking at here is a list of some of the things that went on in this nation. You can go to the Zen Education Project yourself and look it up. Just give y'all some research, though. All right, hold on right quick. crackhead. So yeah, check this out, yo. All right, let me share my screen right quick. All right, so look, these are all some of the people, the institutions that get money, right, from the GOV, man. It ain't just HBCUs, man. Most successful universities and colleges receiving federal funds. I'll see it right there, man. Look at the universities. Dog, it ain't just HBCUs receiving government funds. So when University of Virginia had all that stuff going on, I didn't hear anybody talking about stripping funding or the whole university act like animals and all this stuff when it was actual violence that went on up there. You know what I'm saying? See how they flip the script? It's all a media ploy, man. Most evident destruction in America is to make Native Black Americans look like there's every one of us is just like prone to violence, man. When if you actually come into a cultural epicenter with actual people that have logic, you'll see that Native Black Americans, man, all about ethno aggregation, building businesses, generating income for their families so they can be prosperous and don't have to lean on no system, man. We've been doing this since the inception of this nation and before then. But yeah, look how the institutions receiving funding, man. We'll go down this list. Any alma maters on here? Oh, look at that. Texas A&M University, College Station, even receiving federal funding. Ain't that something? All these big name universities receive federal funding from the government, not just HBCUs. As a matter of fact, HBCUs get pennies on a dollar for what these institutions be getting. And we talking about billions being sent to these institutions. Look, detained data obtained from the table of federal obligations for science and engineering to the 100 universities and colleges receiving the largest amounts, ranked by total amount received FY 2017 using the survey of federal science and engineering support to universities, colleges, and nonprofit institutions, National Science Foundation. Campuses that are part of a larger university system, as listed in Table 1, may petition for an exemption to this rule. See Part 3B for information. So there you have it. I rest my case, man, on this. I just gave you the opinions of other people, let them talk, and then I gave you the research and some facts. So from this point, y'all already know, just do your research and be individual in your logic instead of always thinking when you see someone on the media, it applies to uh, everyone. You know what I'm saying? But what they did at Tennessee State University, dog, it was a money ploy at the end of the day because they could have went to Fisk, they could have went to Vanderbilt, but nope, they just stopped at Tennessee State. I wonder why they didn't go to Fisk. They have a whole movie about Fisk University as being a university of debating. Should have went there for your talking points. But when you go up there to a university and you got DEI is illegal and stuff like that, they've been associating DEI with HBCUs. You don't think the students are aware of this? So when you come up with a sign like that to a university that you're already uh, implicating as a DEI institution, how do you think students are going to look at that? You don't think students have logic and can internalize what you put out there and then come at you with a logical debate, which they did in the talking points that they gave you? You weren't aware of it. So again, if they was really trying to bring some knowledge to the students, they talking points should have been about what Trump gave to HBCUs. Matter of fact, let's look that up. How much money did Trump give HBCUs? Because I know the last presidency also donated funds too. So it's not like just Trump doing this, man. This how much did Trump give HBCUs? Go to the whitehouse.gov and see what they talk about. Hold on, here we go, y'all. Let me share this. Let's see how much Trump gave, y'all. Fact sheet: President Donald Trump promotes excellence and innovation at HBCUs. Advancing HBCU excellence. Today, President Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to promote excellence and innovation at historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs. The order establishes a White House initiative on HBCUs housed in the Executive Office of the President to enhance HBCUs' capacity to deliver high quality education to a growing number of students. The initiative will prioritize private sector partnerships, institutional development, and workforce preparation in high growth industries like technology, healthcare, manufacturing, and finance. The initiative will enhance HBCU's capabilities by supporting implementation of the HBCU's Partners Act. I'll look that up in a minute. Fostering research and program excellence, improving affordability and retention, and building pipelines for students to attend HBCUs. The initiative will work to address barriers to HBCUs receiving certain federal and state grant dollars to improve their competitiveness for research and development funding. The initiative will convene an annual White House Summit on HBCU to foster collaboration and address key priorities for HBCU success. The order establishes the President's Board of Advisors on HBCUs within the Department of Education, comprising leaders from philanthropy, education, business, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, private foundations, and current HBCU presidents. Empowering HBCUs for America's future. President Trump supports our nation's incredible HBCUs and their critical contributions to opportunity, innovation, and the economic strength of the United States. HBCUs are essential to fostering opportunity, economic mobility, and national competitiveness, serving as engines of success for American students. HBCUs have made extraordinary contributions to the general welfare and prosperity of the United States by producing many leaders in business, government, academia, and the military. Nearly 300,000 individuals annually pursue their dreams at HBCU throughout the United States. These institutions generate 16.5 billion in annual economic impact and support over 136,000 jobs, strengthening communities and the nation. Building on a legacy of support, President Trump is committed to elevating HBCUs as beacons of educational excellence and economic opportunity, building on transformative actions from his first team. President Trump relocated the federal HBCU initiative to the White House to ensure direct oversight and prioritization, and will once again located there. President Trump signed the Future Act into law, securing 255 million in permanent annual funding for HBCUs and increasing funding for federal Pell Grants. President Trump authorized more than $100 million for scholarships, research, and centers of excellence at HBCU land grant institutions. President Trump provided $322 million in hurricane-related relief to 4 HBCUs in 2018 so they could fully focus on educating their students. President Trump ensured that faith-based HBCUs receive equal access to federal support. So that's what Trump did. They talking like Trump just dropped like $2 trillion all over and said, y'all just take this money and do whatever you want. No, it's directives behind it. And it's really designed, as he was mentioning, to bring in more students to these institutions because they do provide an outlet into all kinds of fields that can impact the nation, in other words. So with that being said, we done already broke it down. You see it from the White House itself, how much Trump gave the HBCUs is right there. What else do they have to say? So Anton, pipe down, bro. Pipe down about black people and the culture. If you're not going to talk about uh, the 3 police officers that were gunned down, or in Pennsylvania. If you're not going to talk about that Mormon church that was burnt down by some person. If you're not going to talk about, as soon as the Charlie Kirk assassination happened, the Colorado school shooting, if you're not going to bring up these things that also happens in other people's culture, then do some research first, at least. I'm out, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.